So, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, everyone. So, Alhamdulillah, we have completed our mentoring session just now. So, before we start our session, I would like to share the QR code for the CPD points now. So, you can scan. You can go to your MMA application and then you can scan the QR code for the CPD points, right? Okay, let me share the QR code now. Okay, so the QR code, the CPD points is 12 for 1.5 days workshop, right? Okay, so we will post the link and then we will share again after AP Dr. Suhaila and talk and also this evening. All right, so thank you so much, Prof. Musalmah. So now, I mean, like everybody knows Professor Dr. Musalmah Mazlan, our professor in biochemistry in Faculty of Medicine, UITM. Prof actually have published many papers and also has citations more than 1,000. And I think that's enough, isn't it, Prof? And so without further ado, I would like to invite our second speaker, Professor Dr. Musamah Mazlan, to deliver her talk titled title the literature review and also what we call proposal. All right. Thank you so much, Prof. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. Thank you very much for attending this talk, and also thank you for the committee for inviting me. Uh, I just want to share with you my screen first. So I'm supposed to talk on the executive summary and literature review, but what I'm going to uh, talk about is more like sharing my experience in assessing proposals, especially these parts of the proposal. Yeah, because I'm sure most of you knows how to write the executive summary and literature review. So if you don't mind, I just want to start right from the start. So we have our various reasons for doing research, but I hope at our level we do research based more on our interests, because that will take care of your KPI and promotions. Yeah? But the first thing is that it must stems from your interest. So this is the research life cycle. Basically, you get your ideas, you find willing partners, you write your proposal, and then you send it to the funders. And then once you get the funding, you do your research and you get your publication. So the proposal documents, I'm sorry if I'm repeating earlier lectures, yeah, but I need to go and just study over again to emphasize what I want to say later on. So again, proposal document forms the basis of the decision by the funding body. It becomes the framework of the project. So when you do your proposal, as you know, it is to persuade the funding agency to give you the money. Therefore, you need to impress the funder with your proposal. You must show that the proposal was done with careful thought and planning. This will give the impression that you are thorough, careful, and committed to doing a good job right from the start. Therefore, take time to research and plan your proposal. So, before you begin writing your proposals, be clear about why and for whom you are writing the proposal, meaning that who are you asking for the funds? Is it UITM, government agencies, private companies, or international grants? Because grants are highly competitive, therefore, your proposal should stand out from the white rest, and you must know the funder's specific preferences. Therefore, you should custom tailor each funding proposal to a specific donor. So, know your funders. What are their goals? What are their missions? What are their concerns? And of course, the technical details of it, the practical details, the format, the timing, etc. So basically, what do the funders want? The funders want to make an impact or a difference. They want their money to count, and they want the work that they fund to be successful, and they want to be seen to be successful. Now, I can share with you this because we are told again and again, again at MOSTI or at MOHI, how um, how they have to defend us to the cabinet. So that's why, because the cabinet wants to see that the money they give us to do the research are well spent. So that is why the government agencies, especially, or I think any other funders, will want to see that you are successful or you will be successful in completing the project. Some funders, especially those from the drug companies and so on, they may want to acquire, share knowledge, information so that they can add value to their chosen interventions, or if it's a regional or higher bodies, they may want to increase their influence in addressing what they consider to be problems of the world, the region, the country, or a particular area. Now, if you are applying for a government grants, be aware of the national key economy areas. Last thing is that your overall agenda cannot be too different from that of the funder. For each proposal, normally there are two layers of evaluators: the decision maker who will make the final decision based on your proposal. It can be the CEO or a committee, and the technical expert who will assess the technical competence of the proposal. And then what they do is that they write a report to the decision makers, but they do not make the decision. Therefore, to suit these two layers, your proposal must be persuasive as well as technically detailed and correct. Know yourself, know your record or track record, previous result, etc. But what I want to emphasize for you here is to include mentors or seniors or experienced researchers in your team. Time and time again, we were told during our training at KPT to look for this, yeah, for these mentors or seniors in the research team. Why? It's not because that the funders do not trust you. You may just come back from overseas with all these new techniques, new knowledge, but then the mentors or the senior or experienced researchers may be able to give you networking so that your research can be done more easily and faster, and also to guide you for the successful completion of your research. Remember just now, the funders are interested to see that you are successful in completing the research. So that is why they insist on that. So write an attractive and effective proposal title for your project proposal. The title is very important, so you must make sure that you take time to find the best one. Your title must be attractive and exciting at the same time. It must convey the meaning, the area of intervention, and the goals of the project. So, as an assessor, what we have to look for is this. Yeah, basically, we are told to look for: does your title indicate the type of study? Address the main problem? Is it short, concise, descriptive? Does it convey the main focus of the research? Do you use correct terms? It should be intelligible, especially to non-specialists in your area. And that normally it is suggested that you limit the title to a single sentence. And more importantly, that your study will still be relevant in 2 years' time. So if you have chosen a study that will be obsolete by 2 years' time, it will not be considered. This is especially true for the highly competitive grants, like the government grants. Yeah, I'm talking more on the FRGS. So this is what assessors will look for. The selection of research topic normally will be based on, we look for the magnitude of the problem that you said and its impact, urgency of the need for the solution, is it relevant to the funding agency, and the feasibility of the approach. Right now, I come to my topic that I'm given today, the executive summary. The executive summary serves to create interest for the reader without getting him or her bogged down in detail. Right, normally the decision maker, they read only the executive summary. Yeah? So it has to be persuasive. Your description of your project will have more impact if your readers fully understand the why behind what you propose to do. You should put in solid statistics to support your proposal and discuss the root causes of the needs in your analysis to show that you fully understand the problems. Now, this is the tips that we share, but I think we can share this, that experienced evaluators will have the tendency to make up their minds after reading the executive summary and rarely change their outlook as they read the rest of the proposal. Now, this is personally, it is true. And also, I've talked to the other evaluators, and this is, of course, true for majority of the evaluators. So basically, they have already made up their mind from your executive summary. If they are disheartened with your executive summary, the chances that they will change their mind as they read the proposal further will not be there. Yeah? Normally they don't change their mind. So it's either make or break. So executive summary is very, very important because it can make or break your proposal. So what does an executive summary contains? It contains an opening statement with a brief account information, basically to tell you the gaps, what is the purpose of the research study, and why do you do it. Uh, Most people and a lot of proposals that we found, they mention the gaps. and then just say, oh, because it has not been studied, so we are going to study this. We don't buy that. If it is in a competitive environment, that does not hold true. So your research or your proposal will not be looked upon fairly lah. You have to state why you have to do this, why the gaps are important to be filled. You should also mention the method of gathering and data gathering and analysis, and also the benefits of findings or the outcome. Again, please, benefits of finding, state clearly what are the benefits of your research. It is not just to cut and paste from the outcome from the section of the proposal, especially for FRGS or PRGS. So please don't write the outcome will be two MSc students, two papers, etc. What is important here is what will you do with your findings? What will it serve? Will it be incorporated as a policy document? Will it lead to um, differences in management strategy, for example? Those are the things that you should have stated here. I'm saying this because I see a lot of proposals that put it two MSc students or one PhD students, two papers, etc. And then again, I find it again at the outcome section. And that really put the evaluators off. I'm sure people here don't do that. Because we see a lot of proposals from different universities, from some even smaller universities. So you get a lot of uh, types of proposals coming in. Okay, executive summary. What the assessors look for is that you must present your project concisely. You must state the significance clearly. You must state the research problem, what are the gaps, and the justification for doing the study or for filling up the gap, the solutions that you want to do, and how are you going to arrive at the solution, the methods and the rationale, and the expected output. The common mistakes that we normally find is that the length of executive summary are either too short or too long. There's a lot of cutting and pasting. This is what, like Mudiana said just now, the problem statement come here then. We don't want that to see, again, when we come to problem statement, it's the same as in executive summary. It is disorganized or clustered. You mention the gaps, but what's the purpose of filling up the gaps? And again, very, very common mistake is to cut and paste the outcomes. That really shows that you are not careful or thoughtful about the proposal. Remember just now, one of the things that the evaluators will look for is your thoroughness, whether you are thorough in your proposal, because that will reflect the quality and the ability of your research to be successfully completed. Any questions so far before I move on? The executive summary.
No, Prof, not in the Q&A questions. No, no
Okay.
question yet, Prof. Yeah.
Right. If I can just move on. Um, Sorry. The literature review, as you know, is a survey of scholarly sources on a specific topic. It provides an overview of current knowledge, allowing for identification of relevant theories, methods, and gaps in the existing research. And normally, you do the literature search first, you gather information, document, evaluate, and then you write your proposal. So, why is it important? Because it helps the assessor determine if you have a basic understanding of the research problem that you want to investigate. And this will promote the confidence in the overall quality of your analysis and findings. A good literature review of the study is the work done to determine that your research question is a problem. That is what we are looking for, normally, that your research question is a problem, and then that the method used is the one required to solve the issue or answer the question. So, what do we look for? What do the assessors look for? That you are not reinventing the wheel. Now, again, at FRGS level, which I can share with you, um, we spend hours searching for similar research topics or similar papers on the proposal title to make sure that you are not reinventing the wheel. Did you demonstrate knowledge of the research problem? Demonstrate understanding of the theoretical and research issues related to the research question? Show ability to clinically evaluate relevant literature information? Indicate your ability to integrate and synthesize the existing literature? Provide new theoretical insight or develop a new model as the conceptual framework for their research? Present research that will make a significant or substantial contribution to the literature. That means, are you resolving important theoretical issue or filling a major gap in the literature? Maybe I can share with you my experience. I have come across a paper, a proposal that with the title is not so smashing. Seems like it has been done before. And when you read the executive summary, you're still not very sure or not very impressed. But then what happens is that the researcher really explain the topic the topic well and the gaps and evaluate what have been done and critically evaluate the literature that they form, and thus it becomes, and then they decide on their theoretical insight and conceptual framework for their research, which becomes a very good proposal later on because they have explained it very clearly. Now, you can demonstrate understanding of theoretical research issues, etc. You can also include diagrams if it helps you to show that you understand the topic well. So basically, what are the issues which lead you to your research question? That is what we want to find out. So normally it is start with the broad outline, context and background, critically review, compare and summarize available literature. What are the limitations of the previous studies? This is what I said about that particular proposal that I found was very good, because the topic seems like it has been done before, but what the researchers did is that they studied and criticized the previous studies, and then they state the gaps and what they will do to add to the knowledge. So in the literature review, normally you search for relevant literature, evaluate sources, identify themes, outline how you're going to write the literature review. But what I want to say here is that a good literature review doesn't just summarize the sources. It analyzes, synthesizes, and critically evaluates to give a clear picture of the state of knowledge on the subject. And normally, good proposals will be this. You can clearly see it if it's written in this way. And these are the ones who get high marks during the FRGS. Okay, literature search materials relevant to the subject being explored. You must be current and credible. So how do you ensure credibility of the literature that you search? If you're a beginner, you can begin by looking in the academic library, because any journals found in our library can be regarded as safe and credible. Now, if you're using the internet, it is a bit difficult, but look at the credentials of the source, like the reputation of the university or organization, and the experience of the researcher, meaning that if they have written a lot of papers and their names keeps cropping up, then probably this is a good source. So basically, evaluate which sources are most relevant to your proposed study. Remember, a high citation counts means that the article has been influential in the field and should certainly be included in your literature review. You should review recent literature and take note and cite your sources. While you're doing that, you can uh, look for trends and patterns. Do certain approaches become more or less popular over time? This is especially important since the last 2 years, as you are aware, if you're applying for FRGS, they are very strict on this, the trends and the patterns of the research topics, because um, they want to have what do we call that, good and relevant projects that will be um, apa ya, a, a far ahead in times. Yeah? Themes, what questions or concepts recur across the literature? What are the debates? Are there any pivotal publications? Meaning that, are there any influential theories or studies that change the direction of the field? What are the gaps? Are there weaknesses that need to be addressed? So this step will help you work out the structure of your literature review and show how your own research will contribute to existing knowledge. So you can outline your literature review. You can either outline it via chronological order, which is the simplest approach, but bearing in mind, please do not just list and summarize the sources in order, but rather try to analyze the patterns, the turning points, and the key debates. It can either be through, it can also, you can outline your literature review structure based on central themes. So, how do you write a literature review for a research proposal? An effective review will summarize all the current articles. I stayed here 2 to 3 years, but if you're applying for FRGS, they give you up to 5 years, and that you have done it critically. Review their content and point out the gaps in the literature requiring further research. The gaps then lead to your research question and what your study will potentially add to the literature. You may include diagrams and figures to illustrate some facts. I found that some of the good proposals have these, yeah, the diagrams that clearly explain the factual contents. Right, this section should be organized as, first of all, you start off with what is known, the broad topic about this, broadly about this topic. What are the gaps or the missing links that need to be addressed? What is the significance of addressing these gaps? What are the rationale and hypotheses of your study? What are the methods used? Cite your sources where necessary to avoid plagiarism. Common mistake in writing literature review is that it is too long or too short. It can be ambiguous. You discuss on unrelated themes, or it is disorganized. So the C is to help you with your literature review. Cite, always stick to cited articles or information sources as your facts. Avoid personal opinion. Compare different articles to each other, looking for agreements and disagreement. Look for articles that disagree and contrast the strengths and weaknesses, leading to research opportunities. Identify what gaps in the literature and what are the research opportunities. Synthesize what you have learned. How does this lead to your research question? Keep your review to the point and avoid duplication. Construct your review that is orderly and systematic, with the thread leading to your question. Basically, they ask you to do a funnel approach, which means that you start with the broad and then you zoom into your area of interest. Check and recheck your writing. Okay, so that's all I want to say for this. Any questions?
Prof, there's one question here. I read it for you from Associate Professor Dr. Bahia. Assalamualaikum, Prof. Bahia's here. Thank you for a good guide, but I wonder if you can share examples of good executive summary and poor ones.
I don't have examples. But I've seen very good ones that once you read it, it's really, it tells you exactly what you want to do. Basically, as I said just now, for the executive summary, you have to identify the gaps. You start with maybe one line sentence of the broad introduction to the project, to the topic, and then the gaps in the study, and why it is necessary to carry out or to fill up this gap. Okay, and of course your aims, and then your method. What method are you going to do, and why? And then your outcome. Again, please do not just copy and paste the outcome from the outcome section. You have to tell your results, the findings will help in the different strategies management, for example, or will contribute to a new policy on something something. Yeah, we are not interested in how many students you are going to produce, etc., because that can come later.
Sure, Prof. Maybe my suggestion to the organizing team juga lah nanti. I mean we have been told about this guide, how what should we put in the executive summary again and again, especially when like nearing FRGS time, multiple webinars on telling us what to write, what to put. But at the same time, I believe, especially us, the beginners, they keep repeating the same mistake because that's what we know how to write it. So I think it will be good kalau kata the research committee can organize, like macam kita critically appraise whatever examples that we have submitted before. Even like maybe my proposal, we can just review. Oh, this is the right things to do. This is the wrong thing to do. Don't write like this. I think that will help most of us. Just my opinion and
Yeah,
suggestion.
I
Thank
would
you.
agree very well with that. The exercise will do you good. Unfortunately, like what you suggest, I cannot share
Sure,
the good executive summary or the poor ones.
sure. maybe I think this is suggestion for the organizer lah. Maybe for the participant, even many of us we have submitted proposals before which has been rejected. So actually, for it's more of voluntary sharing and let people critically appraise. So I think for
Okay.
my personal opinion, we learn better like that. So we know, oh, we are not supposed to write like this. Even though when people giving talk, they ask us to put, but actually that's not how you should write it down. So we can learn better lah. But I'm more on voluntary sharing lah, I suppose. Of course,
Yes,
Prof tak
yes.
boleh pick and show lah. Sure.
Yeah,
Thanks,
because
Prof.
sometimes I wish I can, because there are so good ones that when we read we say, "Wow," that
Yeah,
the wow factor is there. I wish I can share, but I cannot lah.
sure. Sure, Prof.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you so
Prof.
much, Associate Professor Dr. Bahia. I think maybe that's one approach is actually we can actually discuss with our mentor, because some of the proposal actually under the what we call we cannot disclose, right, Prof? Because that's their proposal. We cannot show their executive summary and open discussion. So I think the best way is to approach the mentor. And I mean, like maybe it depends to the mentor. Either they also want to share their executive summary for the past proposal that has been completed, because the proposal is running, so they actually cannot show the idea of the project, isn't it? I think, yeah, that is sometimes
Or
that's why.
the participants bring their own proposals,
Mm,
the executive summary, and then we can go through it
yes,
like a workshop.
yeah. But thank you so much, AP Dr. Baya, for the suggestion. Right, Dr. Alia, I think that's a question for
Yeah,
you, Prof.
Assalamu alaikum, Prof. Thank you so much
Salam.
for the presentation. I want to clarify more, or I want to may have some tip from Prof. You just now you said that in the output in the executive summary should be different from the output that we wrote specially for the FRGS. So it should be totally different, or the way of writing, Prof. What you mean?
Yeah,
Or any
because
tips to make it different?
Uh,
Yes,
yeah, like I said before, you can put it. Your findings will be used. Is potentially to be used to lead to different strategic or different management strategies, for
I
example,
see.
or it
Mhm.
can lead to different policy being made.
I see. I see. So, Prof, of course, it will be the same. I mean, it is the same
It
output.
is, yeah, but you don't cut and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
copy
mean
and
the
paste the
style of writing? The
yeah,
style of
just one
writing?
one side or one or two sentences will do. Like this
I
will
see.
fulfill the NKRE, the
Mm,
national health
mm, mm.
economy of what
I see.
number, and then the findings will lead to something like that.
Okay. So let's say, please correct me if I'm wrong. In the summary, we do it very brief, and in the output section, output, we put it in detail. That's
Yes,
that's maybe
yes,
maybe may
yes,
help. Okay, okay,
yes.
okay, okay. Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but your
Yeah.
executive summary must sound very grand. Yeah, well, I mean,
Mm, mm, mm.
you must make it attractive.
Yes, yes, yeah, understand, Prof. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
Okay, Prof. I'm still waiting for other question. It's just a question from me, very basic, Prof. Uh, while we're waiting another question, I mean, like usually when we begins to write our proposal, especially as our first proposal, it's very difficult for us to know how much do we need to write under the literature review, Prof. Because sometimes when we introduce a terms, we know that the expert is actually assessing it. But sometimes we know the area is very, very what we call niche. And what do you think about that, Prof? Some of the terms, do we need to say it or just assume that we just go straight to the literature review and the problem? What do you think?
I think it depends on the term, on the area that you are doing. Um, Now, if you're talking about FIGS, there are um, experts in your area, but they might not be, as you said, in your niche. And if you think that it is better to explain the terms, then you just do it. Yeah,
All right.
go with your feeling. Because as I said, I have found papers that I don't at first when reading it quite did not get it, but the researcher explained it very well in the literature review with diagrams and so on. So I understand it better. So all you have to do is just to make the reader understand what the topic is all about.
Thank you so much, Prof. The other thing is just there are also they said like it's good if you have some previous pilot study and to include it in your literature review. It's such like self citation. What do you think about that as well, Prof?
Yes. Uh, Again, I can refer to FRGS. Yeah,
Yeah.
when during our training, what the Kementerian wants to see is the development of the researcher themselves. So if you're working in an area, they want you to go deeper and deeper into that area. So if you say you have done some studies in the area, please state it. That shows the continuity of your work. So we have been asked to look into this area as well, because in terms of manpower, that is what they want to do. They want to develop people with specialties.
Thank you so much, Prof. I think there's no more questions. All right. And I think it's a very interesting talk. We learned so much, especially regarding, I mean, like, don't put your output in the executive summary, and then also look at the problems and how actually to write our literature review. And as mentioned by Prof. Musamah, don't make it too long. Sometimes we up to 2 to 3 pages, and I think the reviewer is quite tired, isn't it, Prof, to read all that? Uh,
I can tell you
mm,
again for FRGS, we have about normally about 30 papers, 30 proposals to read in 5 days. And one paper can take hours because we have to do literature search to ensure that you are not reinventing the wheel, etc. And we have to look at every single thing, right? So it does help if it's not too long. But yeah, it should be to the point, very focused.
so thank you so much, Prof, for your time. We really appreciate it. And I mean, like, again, I think if you have any question, I think Prof Musama is very willing to help. You can just email Prof. And then, I mean, like, and thank you so much again, Prof. We really appreciate for your time and coming and be with us in this workshop today.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you so
thank you,
much.
Prof. Thank you. So for all the participants, I think you can stay. So the next session will be at 2:15 in 2 minutes. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you, Prof.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.